In a world where heroes are born, not made, Ain's divine gift is the weakest of all, the power to appraise and evaluate things. Scorned by his peers, Ain spends his days despising himself until he encounters the spirit of the world tree, who blesses him with the spiritual eye, granting him newfound strength. As his abilities evolve, Ain embarks on a journey to discover his true purpose. We see a boy standing at the edge of an abyss, blaming himself for being so weak. He lets himself fall. As he descends, he wonders why he is alive and what point there is in continuing to live. He believes his life was a waste and feels at peace leaving it all behind. Now we see a swordsman battling a giant rat, buying time for her partner, a mage, to prepare a spell. The rat attacks them, but the swordsman manages to fend it off. The mage successfully casts a fireball, striking the rat and defeating it. The swordsman and the mage congratulate each other on their teamwork, then call for the trash collector, the boy we saw standing at the abyss. He reminds them that his name is Ain and not trash collector. The weight of all the loot he is carrying causes him to stumble and fall. The swordsman, named Zoid, calls him useless. The mage, Jolene, asks Zoid to stop and condescendingly excuses Ain for being from a low class. Ain manages to get back up and resumes his work appraising the rat. The job of an appraiser is the lowest class in their world. At birth, the goddess of light assigns everyone a job, while the goddess of darkness grants them skills. With training, skills can be improved and evolved, but jobs, which are hereditary, cannot be changed. Jobs are divided into 3 categories. Rare classes, merchants and strategists. High classes, swordsmen, mages, and adventurers, to which Zoid and Jolene belong, and low classes, farmers and appraisers. Since jobs are inherited, children usually follow in their parents' footsteps. However, Ain lost his parents at a young age, so he couldn't inherit their profession. He decided to take a different path and became an adventurer. Unfortunately, things haven't gone as he had hoped. Ain uses his appraisal skill on the rat. Its rarity index is F, the most common, but its teeth are rank D. Ain prepares to extract them. He tries to remove the teeth but fails. Zoid pressures him to hurry up. Ain explains the situation and asks for their help, but they refuse, saying that collecting trash is the trash collector's job. Ain glares at them, which Zoid cannot tolerate. Zoid kicks Ain in the face. Jolene reminds Ain that they work hard to keep him safe and that he should be grateful. Ain apologizes and goes back to trying to extract the rat's teeth, while Jolene and Zoid mock the repulsiveness of his job. Zoid declares that being an appraiser is a terrible job since anyone could take the remains to the guild for analysis. Ain agrees silently, knowing his job is merely to extract materials from monsters. Zoid states that the only reason Ain was allowed to join their party is so they wouldn't have to carry monster remains themselves. The group continues their exploration when they suddenly encounter the remains of a hellhound. Zoid is convinced it's their lucky day and orders Ain to extract whatever materials are left. Ain suspects something strange is going on, as such a monster shouldn't be in the dungeon. Zoid shoves him and demands he do his job. Ain begins appraising while Zoid and Jolene revel in their fortune. Knowing hellhound remains are valuable, Ain evaluates the remains. Rank C, but its fang is rank B. Ain takes it just as Zoid spots another hellhound corpse ahead. Ain insists that something is very suspicious, pointing out that the guild's map doesn't match their location. Zoid dismisses his concerns, telling him to stop worrying about minor details and obey orders. Ain begs them to retreat, but his companions ignore him. Instead, they demand that he leave the loot behind and part ways with the group for disobeying the leader. Ain tries to backtrack, and Zoid gives him one last chance to keep his position if he stays with them. Knowing how hard it would be to find another group, Ain is forced to agree. The group continues and enters a chamber filled with hellhound remains. Zoid and Jolene believe fortune has smiled upon them, but Ain is increasingly convinced something is wrong. He warns them that something must have defeated all these hellhounds, and that it wasn't adventurous otherwise, the remains would have been taken. Zoid tells him to shut up, and Ain asks him to look behind them. From the end of the hallway, several red eyes begin to glow. They belong to hellhounds. Ain realizes that the remains they saw were from the same herd, fighting among themselves over food. Jolene asks Zoid for a plan, doubting they can defeat even one. Zoid agrees and knows the only way to survive is to escape. He orders Jolene to cast a paralyzing spell on Ain. Ain cannot believe what is being proposed. Jolene, with a macabre smile, apologizes to him and casts the spell. Ain falls immobilized to the ground. Jolene tells him the effect won't last long and that maybe he can even manage to escape. Zoid steps on him and yells to the monsters, declaring Ein as their food. The adventurers flee, leaving Ein behind, begging for help. The hounds pounce on him, biting into his flesh. The pain breaks the paralysis spell, and Ein manages to grab a rock and hit a couple of the beasts. He gets to his feet and throws his backpack filled with food at them. As the hounds focus on the backpack, Ein tries to escape, but after a few meters, he discovers his companions have blocked the path. Ein finds another hallway and decides to follow it, hoping it leads to an exit. Instead, it ends at a dark abyss. He now has only one choice to make: face death at the hands of the hounds or fall into the abyss. Staggering toward the precipice, Ein blames his misfortune on being born an appraiser. He tried to change his fate by becoming an adventurer, but in the end, all he got was mockery. All he could do was endure, keeping his head down. He couldn't stand up for himself, and in the end, he blamed his job. He set limits for himself and never truly tried. But now it's too late. Everything is about to end. He lets himself fall into the void. As he falls, he thinks his life couldn't have been worse. He accomplished nothing, and now it's over. His end will be as meaningless as his life. Ein crashes injured into a strange tree. A beautiful woman appears and slowly approaches him, kissing his forehead. Ein regains consciousness, but upon seeing the woman, assumes he is still dreaming. As he comes to, he sees the enormous and majestic tree before him. He realizes it is alive, and his wounds have healed. The tree stands rooted in the middle of a massive waterfall. Water splashes his face, and he notices it's not ordinary water. He analyzes it and discovers it's a drop from the world tree, an extremely rare substance with healing properties for wounds and diseases. Amazed, he evaluates the tree and realizes it is the world tree, a spiritual tree that produces infinite mana and can survive without sunlight. Ein cannot believe the world tree exists. Long ago, the world had a world tree. To produce magic, one had to breathe in mana from the atmosphere and shape it with the body. The mana was produced by the world tree, but it withered and vanished long ago. Despite its disappearance, mana continued to exist. People theorized there were more such trees, leading to numerous exploration missions. But even after scouring the earth, none were ever found. Ein now understands why it was never found. It was hidden in a dungeon, deep underground. Ein realizes the tree saved his life and thanks it. He thinks he hears something, but he isn't sure what. He wonders what he should do. He knows his companions won't come to rescue him, and tea here is no food in this place. His only option is to risk finding a way out on his own. Once more, he thanks the tree and heads toward the dungeon entrance. At that moment, without his noticing, the beautiful woman reappears. She wants to tell him something, but holds back. Ein realizes the path he's taking wasn't marked on the guild map, meaning no one else has found it. It's highly likely there are monsters even more dangerous than the hellhounds. He's scared but determined to carve his way out. After some time navigating the long corridor, he finally sees an exit. For a moment, he thinks everything will be fine, but then a blade whizzes past his head, severing his ear. In pain, he tries to clutch it, but another blade slices off several fingers. He uses his appraisal skill and discovers he is facing a gremlin, wielding a large scythe. Gremlins are demons that inhabit labyrinths. They aren't very strong, but are incredibly fast and often use their scythes to toy with their victims. It's an S-rank monster. Ein knows he has no chance against an S-rank monster, especially after barely surviving B-rank hellhounds. The gremlin attacks swiftly. Ein's body is covered in wounds, and he knows understanding his enemy won't help him win. The gremlin prepares to deliver the final blow, but something stops it. It's a Death Baron S-rank monster. This massive bear inhabits labyrinths and is extremely strong, as proven when it kills the gremlin with a single strike. The bear swipes at Ein, clawing his face. Ein tries to run, but the bear catches him and prepares to finish him off. Fortunately, someone comes to his rescue. A hooded figure stops the bear, calling it shameless for seeking help from a mere human. Ein awakens again beneath the branches of the world tree. His wounds have healed, and before him stands the beautiful woman. Ein recognizes her as an elf, like those from fairy tales. If you've made it this far into the video, don't forget to write the word exquisito in the comment section. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.